Okay. Sweet, and we're in the green, so that means that I can talk. Hopefully everyone can hear me. If you can't, let me know. But, everything seems to be nominal. So, hi, this is Sarah, and it is Monday, and I'm working on Noodle's legs still. I just got back from a quick trip to Detroit, which is my hometown. I had some family business to do there with my family. It was a, quick trip with my mom and my dad and my Mark, and we got to visit all of our old, I don't know, they've been calling them haunts. That seems appropriate. We visited all of our old haunts, and it was nice. It was a good time of year for the Midwest here in the US. The leaves were starting to change color, which is something I haven't seen in a good long time. And, I don't know, I had a lot of cider. I had some good Greek food in Greektown, and now I'm back. I'm ready to dive back into the thing that was torturing me before I left. It has to do with Noodle. The thing that I was really adamant about doing this year was getting Noodle to walk, but we kind of concluded early on that the type of walking that I wanted him to be capable of doing was not possible with his current form. And Noodle could kind of stagger in a very infantile way, but as you're probably familiar with, he couldn't actually carry his weight forward in a graceful manner that would allow him to kind of keep up with me, or, I don't know, really get anywhere gracefully like an animal ought to. He just sort of was only ever going to kind of limp around in that form. But I'm changing it. I'm making a second leg design that should give him a little bit more capability, movement capability. I'm not there yet. I'm having issues now with the motors that I recently got. Not actually having enough torque to lift his leg in the lifting axis, whatever. And this is probably not because of the leg being too terribly heavy or the motor being too weak. I think it's specifically the geometry that the lift motor has to work with. This has to do with my design. It's probably not good. I'll show you in a second what I'm talking about. And I'm gonna hi Polis Squalus and hi Mikumin. Thank you for joining me. Happy Monday. Or whatever, if it's Tuesday already, happy Tuesday. Or happy evening. Hi Marshall. Hi everybody. So the goal of the stream, I have all this energy, I'm back from my trip. The goal is to really kind of push through the problems that I've been having all summer, because I've been working on this all summer, and just sort of figure it out, and I think I'm close, but I'm gonna attempt to sum up all the different iterations, revisions that I've been through to get to the point where I'm at. The main difference between the old version of Noodle's leg and the new version of Noodle's leg is that both of the motors that are responsible for the motion are located back to back in the middle, in between the parallel bars of his leg. And I've never had motors there before, and I'm not an engineer, so I don't actually know if the way that I've solved the mechanism and the geometry, the shape of the movement and how the motors have to kind of pull the pulleys that I'm using, if I'm doing it in the right way. I'm not entirely sure if I made things better or if I made things worse, but I did lower his center of gravity, and the legs more or less work in roughly the same way as they did before. It's just the motors on the bottom instead of on the top. I don't know. But I'm going to show you what I've done, and I'm going to show you what I'm going to install. Today I have a thing that I can assemble if I so want to. It's like a micro revision of, I'm gonna say, the second iteration of the new leg. If it doesn't work for whatever reason, then I'm going to get into CAD later on during the stream and design the next version of this second leg design, which is going to get rid of pulleys altogether and rely on spur gears and planetary gears. And I don't know if I'm going to be shooting myself in the foot again with this design. I might be, because I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm going to give it a shot, because if it does in fact work, then it'll not only look really cool, but it's going to probably get rid of a lot of slop that I'm having to deal with right now in designing this new leg. And that'll be good. So right now, I think in short, the two major problems I'm having are the lift motor stalling out because it doesn't have enough torque to lift the leg for some reason, and then there's still a lot of play. There's a lot of wiggle wobble slop in the legs, and Noodle doesn't want to be that sloppy. But anyhow. Oh hey, there's like a bunch of you guys in here. Hey AP Tech, hey Vi! How you guys doing? Hi Badger O Wesley. How are you guys? Ooh, let me it's a wild Sarah. I'm definitely a wild Sarah right now. The Midwest, it was interesting. It was actually really, really nice when we got there for like the first day and a half, and then overnight it went from being like quite comfortable and nice to being fucking cold, like frigid cold. We woke up the morning of like Saturday morning, and they got like a cold front happened. It magically appeared over the Detroit area, and it went from being like balmy to being frigid and breezy, so I had to bust out all of the layers that I brought with me and put them on. But at least I had them. Hi Marshall. Aww. Marshall Saren. Thank you for joining. Or shooting Noodle in the leg. Yeah, I might be shooting Noodle in the leg. Marshall? Marshall? I know when I played laser tag, like, that was what you had to yell out to get help. Back when Laser Quest was a thing in the 90s. Did anyone else play laser tag? That's totally off topic. Oh yeah, Vi, you were telling me that it snowed. That's pretty insane. Like, it's only October. I mean, it's technically, like, fallish and everything, but... I mean, it's too soon for that. It snowed for a few days? Damn. I can't do snow. I always say this. When I was a student, I lived in Chicago for a year, and I swear the entire year that I was there, I wasn't warm once. Like, by the time I got there, it was like October, and I think I moved out in May, like at the end of the spring semester, and I think I was the same amount of uncomfortably cold the entire time that I lived there, and it was probably the main deciding factor of me deciding factor. It was the main culprit of me kind of concluding that I couldn't actually take root in the Midwest, because up until a certain point I thought I was going to start my life in Chicago, and that was just going to be where I lived, and the cold winters there definitely kind of beat that out of me. But yeah, Vi, you need to move. You need to come out here to Vegas and suffer the heat with the rest of us crazy Mad Maxians. Can build your own laser tag. We could. They actually closed our Laser Quest this year in January, and me and a bunch of my friends, like friends that I used to play laser tag with, came back to Las Vegas for the closing week because we had memories there, and we had a big like party. So a bunch of 30-year-olds like ascended on the parking lot of the final Laser Quest and saw it off, and we played a bunch of games over the period of the weekend, and we didn't have as much stamina as we did when we were teenagers, but we stuck it out anyway and drank energy drinks all night and had a blast. And I'm sad that it's gone. I had just about as much fun as I did when I was a kid too. Had I known the fun was still there to be had, I would have probably gone this whole time, but whatever. This week is nice and warm though. 40s to 60s. Good that it warmed back up. Aw. Alright. Hi, heroes and fools. Hi, everybody. Okay, I'm gonna, without further ado, I've been yammering for 10 minutes already. I have 2 desktops set up for today that I actually set up. Like, I woke up this morning and I cleaned up my lab, kind of, because when I left, again, everything was in complete disarray. This bench area was, it was bad. It was dusty, and all the cords that you don't see but are behind my laptop routing all of my streaming peripherals together it was like a giant like rat's nest of bad things. And the bench where I assemble stuff, which is this area right here, this, I didn't have a nice clean space, and as you can see, I actually even put tape so I can tell when I don't have something on camera anymore, because I think that's something I'm really bad at, and I'm gonna try to not be bad at it. Here, there's my face. Do I want that there? No, I want that here. There we go. That's better. So I'm going to be assembling some stuff today here, and then I can switch down to, oh, bam. I can switch down to this. And how does this look to you guys again? Okay, that's in the correct place. All right, so this is my drawing space. And I think the first thing I'm gonna do today, I even wrote it down, look at me. Woo! I'm going to attempt to explain where my holdup is. So I've been saying for a long while that I've been in mechanical design hell, and I've gone through so many iterations of this leg that it doesn't even make sense to like document them anymore, because I'll print subtle changes and I'll install them in the leg mechanism, and I'll test them out. I'll fix one thing, it'll break something else somewhere else in a completely different, unexpected way. And I'll have to compensate and fix that, and it'll break something else in a different way, and it's just been me putting out fires, running around sort of to no avail. I'm gonna give you a quick overview of what those major problems are and where they are, so you know what I'm actually addressing during this stream. I'm going to assemble the next rev, like micro rev of the leg in its current form, and talk about it a little bit. And then lastly, if it doesn't work, then I'm going to CAD the next micro revision of the leg, although this is probably going to be technically the a new one. It's like a new micro rev amongst the revs, because it's going to involve a completely different approach to articulating the leg in the lifting motion. It's no longer going to involve a pulley. Yeah. So if I get rid of all of these things, I can probably show you right now. I'm gonna draw on top of these. Woohoo! Now the good news is I have a little bit of money coming in soon, and I'll probably be able to get a new tablet, which I know I've been talking about for a long time. Like, I've been needing to get something that I can actually draw on, and the way that you were intended to draw, which is on the surface you're drawing on. I was going to get that new setup that they have with the iPad and the pencil, because I think that Photoshop, or Adobe rather, they have a Photoshop app for Mac OS now, or they're about to. And I think that would be nice. It'd be a nice solution. Plus I could use the actual tablet as another screen. I think there's like a piece of software that you can get that allows you to turn your iPad into another monitor, which I could use for streaming potentially if I get like a nice dock for it or something, because that's another peripheral that I could definitely use. It'd be helpful. Whee! Okay, so let's make the motors. not red. Let's make the motors. Ooh, purple looks nice. Let's do purple. Okay. So the linkages that I had attached to the motor, the servo horns, I guess the thing that I could... should I color it in too? Yeah, why not? So I had motor 1 and I had motor 2, which you cannot see that. Let's make it a brighter color. Maybe yellow. So M1 was the lift servo, and M2 was the, I guess I'm gonna call this the knee servo. Knee servo. So this one is new. This is the new range of motion that I'm adding to Noodle. It's going to enable his noodle, which is like right here, to kick out a little bit. Not a whole lot, but just enough that he can actually kind of, I guess, scoop on the ground and kind of push himself forward when he walks. I think we decided a long time ago that this was a necessary change he was eventually going to need to adapt to, but now's the time to implement it, and it's going to take a little bit of work, but it's absolutely necessary at this point. So he's going to have 3 ranges of motion per leg. This first M1 is responsible for lifting the entire leg upwards like this, and normally, let's use a different color here. This was the layer. I think I was going to use like a red for this. Normally there was a long tendon that came off of this servo horn and went up like that, and it attached to a point like up here, and the tendon allowed, I don't know, there's kind of like this triangle of influence. How do I explain? Oop. There is like a triangle, and this right here was the femur bone, and this angle right here was the pulley tendon. That's not enough space to write the word femur. That maybe is. So there used to be a much longer tendon, and the motor was actually attached at the top, and it pulled up and downwards from above. And that was because, again, that pulling motor, the lift motor, was located kind of underneath Noodle's eyes. He had a eye gantry, and all of the motors pretty much in his entire body were all kind of nested in this brick underneath his eyes, and that made him very top heavy. The nice thing about the design was that it kind of just worked out of the chute. I didn't have a lot of problems with it. I literally kind of eyeballed all of the angles of all of the mechanical geometry, and everything just sort of came together and worked with little fuss, and I really took that for granted. I tried to kind of intuitively redesign the leg based on what looked like it ought to work this time, and it utterly failed multiple times. So I've had to get a lot of feedback from other people and try a lot of things that maybe weren't quite as intuitive to me from the get-go, but makes sense to me now. So this was the what I just drew right here. This was the original leg geometry. The way that it's set up now, or like in this drawing that if I turn these things off, this thing right here, let's give it magenta properties. So this design right here that I'm drawing on top of is, we'll call this noodle leg 2 version 1 rev, I don't even know. It's the final rev of this nightmarish thing. Boop. Let's make this a better color. Said magenta, but like a light. There we go. So this was the first thing I came up with, and the thing that's important to note about this version 1 is that it has 2 pulleys. Right here, or 2 paddles. I'm sorry, these are the servo horns, and then there's 2 pulleys, or 1 pulley rather. Are there? I guess the paddles are being used as pulleys. So this is a paddle that's being used as a pulley. And this guy, again, this attached to the leg, the noodle. And this guy attached with a kind of weird macaroni-shaped linkage. It was curved, kind of like a piece of elbow macaroni. And it attached right here to the femur. So this was the femur attachment point, and this was the noodle attachment point. And I can show you exactly what I'm talking about. I'm gonna check the chat real quick and then show you on the bench. This is actually it right here, the thing that I'm drawing on top of. Ooh, guten Abend. Hi. Hi, Marcos. Yes, this stream is totally brought to you by Yates Apple Cider. I got to go to Yates Cider Mill in Michigan this weekend, and I can definitely state that their cider, of all the ciders I had, was my favorite. And they had the best donut smells wafting around the outside of their mill. Brand sponsors. Problem with brand sponsors is that you have to give them something in return, and I don't want to do that. Quite honestly. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'd do that for free apple cider. I could definitely put a Yates apple cider logo behind me. I'd want to be sponsored by ridiculous things, though, that have nothing to do with robotics. I don't know. I mean, I was a spokesperson for Jack Links once. True story. It's the only sponsorship thing I think I've ever done in my life, if you could call it that. Alright, so I'm gonna run over to the thing I've got on my assembly bench real quick. Let's see, will my microphone reach? Maybe. There we go. Alright, guys. So the thing that I just drew is this leg, and this is again the first, I guess, the first version of the second leg design, and these are these macaroni tendons that I was telling you about. I probably have to unchuck one of these from Noodle to show it to you attached to the actual bones, but right here is the femur. Noodle's a femur, and this right here is where the leg attaches. And to show you what I mean, I know I can't fit this whole thing on the viewable space, but this is one of Noodle's original leg geometries. This part right here is the femur. So when I say femur, that's what I mean. And this is the noodle attachment point, which if I pull the noodle back, this is the shin bone. So these are the two, I don't know, this is sort of the magic sweet sauce that is in question, and also the bane of my entire life in regard to, I don't know, this mechanical design purgatory I'm in, I guess. So the way that this leg worked is the macaroni was attached at a point in between here and here. So there was a attachment point for this macaroni bit, and when this motor rotated, it would actually pull against the femur at kind of a weird angle. I think this was meant to swing down. Probably not as much. I think it could only go about that far. And it would pull against a point right here, and this would rotate back and forth at about, I don't know, about almost 90 degrees, and these points would stay here. The problem with this is that, and I'm not entirely sure, but when the leg was in a position, a stable kind of resting position, these points right here, these three connection points, were kind of in a straight line, and Noodle's Shape Daddy informed me that when these 3 points were in alignment with one another, that was going to create the potential for a lot of play to occur, a lot of slop and wiggle in the leg. And it happened that if I were to take Noodle and grab him by the head and kind of wiggle him up and down and back and forth, all of these joints right here would rock and wiggle and twist on themselves, and it was a lot more play than the old body had, and I wasn't really okay with that. This joint kind of worked. As it rotated up and down like this, it would kick the leg out just a little bit, just slightly. It wasn't optimal. Like, this didn't really make a whole lot of sense, but it was the easiest, lowest hanging fruit idea that I could tackle to get that little bit of movement. And I believe that this joint would move back and forth probably from here back to straight out being the farthest point. When the motors were in this position, the leg would be kicked out at like a maximum, and then when it rotated up, the leg would be swung in slightly. So the natural state for the leg, or the normal state for the leg, would be something like this, which I also didn't really like aesthetically, because it kinked this whole bone portion down at an angle like this. There's a lot of problems. I ran into a bunch of issues that I didn't really think about, of course, when I started the design, but now, of course, I see how this joint affects that joint, and this joint and where it's positioned affects this one. The two relate to one another, and depending on where the motors were, it caused a lot of prombles, I'll just say that. So this design ended up getting scrapped pretty early on. It was the thing that I installed in Noodle's body like 2-3 weeks ago when I got back from ours. I believed before I left to go to ours that this was sort of gonna be it for whatever reason. Strangely enough, I'm gonna go back to my computer. Amazingly, that design that I just showed you is kind of stupid as it is. Um, it worked. It worked in CAD, so I modeled it up in Fusion 360, and I rigged everything together so that I could test to see if it would actually work, and in CAD, it did. Otherwise, I wouldn't have printed it. It was a little wonky, but it seemed like it legitimately had a chance to work the way that I wanted it to. So I printed 4 entire assemblies worth of that leg design, and I put them together and installed them in Noodle, and it was bad. I think Mark and I, maybe last weekend, we actually tested one of the legs powered. Like, we ran the motors like at the range that they were supposed to move in together, and they didn't really work at all. There's a lot of issues, the ones that I just explained, like about the geometry not playing well with each other. So immediately upon seeing this, I had ideas of how I might fix it, and I came up with the second leg design, which I'm gonna have to go back over. Let me check the chat real quick. Gilgamesh socks? Sorry, I have crud in my nose, throat, whatever. That's the one thing about coming back to Vegas, is that it's dry here, and my body has to reacclimate every time I leave and come back to like the amount of not moisture we have, and it's making my sinuses shitty. And yes, Pullus Squalus, I was briefly a sponsor for Jack Links at Maker Faire. They had they did a thing at Maker Faire where they did this whole, what's it called? It was a promotion, I guess, like a marketing thing, where they recruited a bunch of makers. I think there's 5 or 6 of us, and they wanted us to make makery things with beef jerky as the medium. And as a roboticist, I applied for this thing that they put out, and I offered to basically make one of my robots out of beef jerky at Maker Faire that year, and they accepted it. So they paid me, and they sent a camera crew to this lab, and they had the crew film me building one of the robots out of beef for like the period of a day, and then I built another one at Maker Faire, and people watched me produce this Delta robot that was made out of beef jerky. They also sent me like a metric fuck ton of beef jerky in the mail as material to actually use. So at some point I got this box in the mail that was like huge, and it had like every type of beef jerky that they had ever put out on the market, or that is currently out on the market by Jack Links, and I was able to take that and manipulate it in different ways to make structural material made out of beef. And I spent like a week just making structural meat material for a Delta robot, and I ended up making one out of like their version of Slim Jim, their Sasquatch sausages, and I tried to make the paddles out of like I ended up making what's it called? Plywood? So like a composite meat material out of I guess like I looked at the grain of the actual like beef jerky, and I layered them back and forth so that they kind of, you know, alternated, grain going this way to grain going that way. And I put the meat together with contact cement, and I pressurized, like, you know, squeezed it together with a vise. So I put it under pressure while it was drying, so that when I took it off the vise, I actually had kind of like a meat laminate, meat composite, plywood type, I guess, sheet material that I could then cut and create robotic parts out of. And it, surprise, surprise, didn't work very well, so I ended up having to 3D print some of the parts. But the main arms of the Delta robot were actually made out of beef, the Slim Jim, the stuff that had the casing. The funny thing though is the type of sausage that I used by them here in Vegas was it had a stronger casing, and it wasn't as greasy on the inside, so it worked a lot better. So the robot that I built for the camera crew worked really well. And then when I went to Maker Faire, I didn't buy my materials here in Vegas. I waited until I got to San Mateo to buy my sausages from the store, and they didn't have the type that I used in California for some reason. We went to probably a half a dozen different grocery stores and 7-Elevens trying to find it, and it was nowhere. And I was kicking myself for not bringing like an auxiliary bag of this sausage, this particular type of like Slim Jim sausage. And I ended up having to use this more Slim Jim-esque Sasquatch snack. And again, like I mentioned, it had softer casing, it was really oily on the inside, and the machine that I made would kind of destroy itself after a couple of like, I don't know, every like 10 minutes or so I had to reinforce the joints by wrapping gaff tape around the end pieces where the joints were kind of pinned together, and I would have to stick my joint pins through layers of gaff tape to kind of make sure that it stayed together when it moved. So it was kind of a nightmare, and it was very messy. People kept walking up to the table where I was constantly repairing this meat amalgam, and it was just leaking oil all over the table and like ripping and shredding itself, so it looked kind of like this injured animal kind of flailing about. Oh, and there was a hot dog on the end effector. I have a video of this, like it's on my YouTube channel. Like if you type in I think it's like Meat Delta or Neon Brown, which is what I named it, you can find video of this, because I documented the crap out of it, because the whole endeavor was utterly absurd. It was fun, but it was like probably one of the silliest things that I've ever been paid money to do in my life. Like that's what happens when you say yes to everything. And no, Micus, the robot was not edible. It was like partially contact cement when it was done. I don't know if you can I'm sure you can laser jet jerky or laser cut jerky or water jet it, because it's not like very strong, so it's not like it takes a lot of effort to cut it or anything. The problem was really just making it structural. Maybe secure the layers together with like caramel sponge sugar. I mean, I'm sure there's ways to make completely edible beef jerky robots. It's just, I don't know. I would not suggest it. But I'm way off topic right now, so I'm gonna reel it back in and get back to the thing that I was doing. But that little anecdote was about the only robot I've ever made out of beef. Here, real quick, just so I'm not talking about this stuff and not referencing it. I know. Oh, I'm super sad it didn't come up. There I am. This is a younger, more energetic me. There we go. Oh, my voice even sounds different. Cray cray. There we go. Cows are barely structural. Yes. So there's other videos that are involved with the meat delta doing. I think I filmed the experimentation that took place at our hackerspace when I was trying to make the structural meat. They're buried in there somewhere. Yeah. Oh, hey Bradley. How are you doing? Are you getting excited for SuperCon? I have to ask. Like I'm like freaking out a little bit. I don't know what I'm gonna do. Like I haven't really planned anything particular. You seem full of chaotic energy. I don't know. Maybe too chaotic. Anyhow, all right. I'm gonna go back to the thing that I was doing. Not that thing. This thing. Bam. Okay. So I drew on top of this one a bunch. What layers do I want to keep? Those are probably fine. So yeah, this one had two, like, I guess horn attachments and a pulley. And this guy didn't work at all. It had the most issues. The one that I'm working on now, like I think, let me see, wait. I think it was like 2 or 3 weeks. I did the, no, it's not true. Before I went to ours, I installed all of these, this particular design. This is the one that I installed in Noodle's new body when I assembled Noodle's new body. So this was sort of the factory standard model that I put on him before I left for Austria. And then I came back and I finished all the little tiny bits that I forgot, like the little macaroni linkage that was going to enable him to not wiggle all over the place. I think there's a couple other important key things that I didn't install that I needed to get into these legs before I could even test them and find out how poorly they performed. But again, 2 or 3 weeks ago, I finally wired one of the legs up and tested it, and it did not work at all. So immediately I started thinking of a completely new approach to the leg, and I came up with this doodad immediately. The thing that I went back to in regard to this particular design is the tendon that goes up and attaches somewhere up here. So it's a longer tendon, and it has the again, this creates the more stable triangle geometry instead of again, this was the old attachment point. So this previously, I'll make this red. Red indicates non-working geometry. This point right here attached on this hole with like a little macaroni bar, and that geometry was shorter. And again, I'm not an engineer, I don't know what the sweet sauce was there, but because of the range of motion that this rotated, which was about from here to here, when it was in a neutral state, it was as such that there was a lot of play. Just to repeat what I said like 2 seconds ago, it didn't work. And this one, I decided to get rid of the pulley thing altogether because that was just silly, right? And I made a rack and pinion. So there's this happy frulala. That's a rack and pinion system right there. And that's attached to this, which is the point that the shin. So we got these 2 points. And as this moves back and forth, the shin swings like this. I think that makes sense. Bam. So this I tested with Mark last weekend, and it works. This portion right here works great. I wouldn't really change anything about this because it's fine. I can probably tighten up the mechanism that the rack and pinion is housed within to remove the small amount of play that there is currently. But it mostly just works. It doesn't look spotty like the old version did. This tendon right here, I'm not sure if that works as well. I just created an attachment point for the oh no, I did test that. Okay, in its current form, the geometry, this I'm gonna draw a bunch of these because I'm crazy. So the geometry between these 2 attachment points and the way that this horn currently rotates, which is from here to about here, it carries the tendon kind of in this really steep path, so that triangle of motion is very, very slim, like that, which is it seems to be bad, and that's putting too much torque on the motor, or it takes too much torque. It's putting too much torque on the motor. It's torquing the motor. It's the motor, it's taking too much torque, and it's stalling out, and it's not happy. It's making a really big sad face when I do that to it. It either can't, or it has to strain really, really hard just to kind of get through this curve right here. And the way that I alleviated this was by getting rid of these 2 points right here. What the hell are these? They are structural points. If I were to flip this entire leg assembly 90 degrees, rotating it towards you, and you could look straight down from the top at it, there's actually 2 layers to the entire assembly. There's a mounting point for the motors themselves, and then that mounting plate is actually attached to the bone, which is the thing that is connected here to the femur. And there are reasons why I had to design it that way. These 2 points right here they serve the same purpose as that point right there. So these 3 points are what connect the motor mount to the bone. Wow, just stopped working. That's not cool. To the leg bone. Tracy bone. So I had to get rid of these 2 points. Why? Because what I ended up doing is I moved this entire motor right here, this motor number 1. I had to move it back so that it was actually butt to butt with the second motor that does the swinging. So these two motors, this like gap that's right there, I had to close the gap. So the thing that I'm about to install is the version of this, I guess, motor mount and pretty much this entire thing right there. I'm about to replace this assembly with a version that's pretty much exactly like this, but it gets rid of these two structural points, which I don't know how that's going to go over. It could be catastrophic, and I do very much anticipate that it might be. I got rid of these points so that I could move this motor back and create a little bit wider triangle between the pulley and the femur bone right there. So again, by moving motor, this isn't just any motor, it is the lift motor. By moving the lift motor this way, better, lift, angle. There we go. Question mark, because I'm not even really sure. Let's make this a better color. There we go. So the thing that I'm about to test is this. So by moving the lift motor to the right, closer to the knee motor, it might create a better lift angle and it will work better, and it will strain the lift motor less. It'll require less torque to potentially lift the leg. And this is, again, just speculation because I don't know what the hell I'm doing. So without further ado, I'm going to go back over there with my microphone and I'm going to assemble that beast. But I'm gonna dip down into the chat, of course, and talk at you for a second before I do that. What have you guys been talking about? Yes, you can say butt to butt. I need to fix that. I don't know how to turn off the auto sensor. Yay. I know, right? I never have a plan. I did wonder why you weren't responding to my distractions. YouTube never tells me when you start. Oh, hi. Hi, Kia. Welcome to the stream. Welcome to the other conversation. You can distract me here now. Yeah? See, because I am simple man, I would simply attach the bones directly to the servos. That would likely not work at large scale pod. Micus, I do want to make a noodle mech one year. I think if I ever end up doing Burning Man, which I haven't gone to yet, I'd have to make something really big, because that seems to be like the flavor of that place. Everyone brings big flaming things. I wouldn't probably make a fire noodle, but I would probably make like a noodle mech that I could sit inside of and stomp around in, which would involve welding. So this would probably be a collaborative effort with Shape Daddy, because he's like the welding extraordinaire in our circle. So we'd probably make a giant livable noodle mech house that Noodle could pilot with his feet. It would have like tongue buttons and he could press them and then tell it where to go, and we could like stomp on top of everything. That's my, that's a life goal. Yeah. That doesn't make me sound nuts. Butt to butt. Nevada is the only state where giant robots are legal. Is it? I don't know about that. I think it's the only state where giant robots are common. You can come in the desert here and do whatever you want with giant robots. I mean, since I live in like the spiritual Mad Maxian like location, I need to, by default as a roboticist, make a giant robot that I can like stomp around with, right? Like I'm not doing life right unless I do that. You can drive a tank around? No way. I don't believe that. I mean, technically, yeah, if you're in a tank, no one's gonna stop you, but it doesn't mean it's legal. Interesting. You. Hi, Mr. Mick Bong's lab. I keep calling you Mr. Bong. Sorry. Hello, Miss Mick Bong's lab. You have to have rubber tracks to legally drive a tank on UK roads. Interesting. That's crazy. Rubber pads attached to the tracks so you don't ruin the roads. I mean, that would make sense. I mean, that's the polite thing to do. Noodlezilla. Mecha-Noodle. That is exactly what we were calling it. No, Tony and I have been talking about making a mecha-Noodle for like going on 4 years now, which is bad. Life's going by too fast. No, it feels like that whole meat thing with Jack Links happened like 2 seconds ago, but that was like 4 years ago now, which is insane because so much has happened since then. But I think that was very slightly before the Mythbusters thing happened, which was already like it's 3 years ago. Okay, it's 3 years ago. Still, that's like I don't know. It's been a fast 3 years. It feels like in some ways my entire like professional career has happened in the past 5 years alone. Anyhow. Alright, so I'm gonna assemble that thing that I just drew, which is not this one. This is the one that's going away. It's gonna be more like the other one. And I'm going to actually turn this off because you're not going to see me anyway. I'm going to take the microphone with me after I take a sip of water. Because I'm back in the desert now and I need to stay hydrated, yo. Alright. My hydration station. So this is the leg in question. And I don't know if this is enough light now. It seems like it is for the moment. Oh god. Oh wow, that's not good. This is not a good chair for this. I think I broke every chair from our dining room table. Or either that or they just all decided to disintegrate at the exact same time. I'm actually kind of leaning towards that as being what actually happened. But yeah, they're all breaking, and I don't trust them. So I'll just stand and do this. So this is the thing I'm replacing with this little pile of leg pieces. And I'm going to assemble it, and then I'm going to actually start catting the next thing that I was imagining doing, which completely gets rid of this pulley altogether for the leg and replaces this pulley with another spur gear and then a planetary gear. So both of these will be geared. There'll be no pulleys. which might be the way that I end up having to go, but I don't know yet. We'd call that design creep in this neck of the woods, and Noodle's shape daddy would be harassing me a little bit about it, but you know what? I'm gonna make both and I'm gonna run them next to each other and see which one performs better. And that's probably really loud. Let's see. Any way in which I can deaden that a little bit. I don't know if that helped in any way. I'm not sure how bad it sounds when I pick stuff up off the table, since that's the surface that the microphone is making contact with. If it's awful, I apologize in advance. So again, these 2 points are the ones that are going away. They are structural. So I might run into some super big problems. I'm gonna have to figure out another, actually can't do that first. Alright. I'm gonna have to figure out another way to secure the, motor mount to the bone, the leg bone. It's actually, these spacers are kicking that out too wide. Whatever. Okay. Noodle was all in his Halloween socks and everything too when this happened. He was excited to walk, and then Mommy came around and took him apart again. Alright. I'm sorry if this is off camera. I might need to move the mic back a bit. I know this one tiny little area looks clean. It's because it is clean, but the entire rest of the area around it is still kind of a disaster area, such as it is. But, you know, it's the nature of places that are worked in for many projects between multiple people. So the other thing I want to do as soon as I get this, the body, like, working relatively well enough to switch over to code mode, I really, really would like to do a second iteration of the big heart backpack that's part of the Shibon project. Because I haven't really worked on Shibon any since, like, May, I want to say. Like, I more or less exclusively have been, I guess I can stay there. I've been working on a Noodle and preparing things that I've already made for an exhibition rather than focusing on developing anything new. And I do have an idea in mind for the next Shibon augment, and I really, really would like to get to building it. But again, like Noodle of course comes first. I at least want to get the mechanism design done before I switch to anything else. Oops. There we go. The unused and the part that is in question. Okay, so I think I'm just going to have to go off. try to remember that these are over here and what they're for. I guess I don't have to disassemble that, now that I'm thinking about it. I'm not going to do it that way. This gets to go back in. I take it back, I lied. Because this part actually isn't changing. There's nothing wrong with it. It can stay assembled. If I pull this shield part off and then disattach, unattach this spur gear right here, the pinion, then I can just slide this out and put it aside. Oh man. I slept for 12 hours last night. I went to bed at like 9:30 or something, I think. It was stupidly early though. It's like we got back from the airport at 7, I think, and by the time I got unpacked and clean, I was just done. There's like nothing, no life left in me to give. Not that it was a very long flight, I just, there we go, see? One piece. This can go aside. So now I can get to, so you can see how this is structural here. So these two thick plates right here are what the motors mount to. And then the motor mount attaches to kind of this strip here in the center, this light gray part right here. And there's spacers in between. This piece right here is actually the same part as this bone right there. And it comes down below, inside, and up in between these motors. And it connects this whole thing together and makes it one unified piece. If I had this part just be on the same plane as the thing the motor's mounted to, this bit would be like that wide. And I didn't want that. So I tried to dogleg it in so that this would be slimmer. It needs to be slimmer because this is where the femurs are. And if this connection point was wide, they would collide into one another when they rotated. Or when they rotate. Doot and scoot. But yeah, I meant it when I said on my bucket list I will definitely make a noodle mech. So the other thing I need to do before I get too ahead of myself is label these parts once I pull them off of this thing. When I was younger, I got really good at labeling everything I printed, like what version it was, like what my name for it was. Like if, I don't know, like this thing right here. You can see I actually put words on it so I can tell what the hell those pieces are. Used to be really good at that. I had the best habits, and that part just rolled onto the floor. No. There it is. Whew. Interesting. I don't know. I didn't pick up the right one, maybe. precisely what happened. There we go. It's funny when I can pick up a spacer that is almost identical to the one I dropped off of the floor. But it is not the same thing. It's the part that I print the most, I think, are just miscellaneous sizes of spacer. Like, I actually have a bin somewhere that is filled with just spacers that I printed for projects that didn't end up being used because the dimensions changed. So I tried to reuse them, but again, like, I stopped labeling things, so I have no idea what size any of them are. I'm trying to remember what hardware goes where. I'm probably going to mess that up. But you know. That's the last one. Way up in there. Do I have... Oh, they'll reach. Fair enough. There's the fence. That's the thing that holds the rack in place. Not really the perfect size yet. As you can see, I've cut it already. And there's that bone piece. This is the thing I eliminated that I keep mentioning over and over again. I'm like, it's structural, I shouldn't have gotten rid of it. Here, look. It's gone. Needs to be there, isn't there. Might cause problems. In fact, I'm sure it's going to cause a promble of some sort, but I'll address how to fix it once I see exactly how it is problematic. I added a hole there, so there's at least 2 attachment points instead of the one. That was at the very least necessary, but I don't know if it's gonna... I don't know what it's gonna do. We shall see. So this is going to get labeled immediately so that I do not forget what the hell it is. That is going to require some of this... I guess I could just write directly on the piece. Why not? I'll sit down in my chair that's not in danger of breaking. I think the other reason why all the chairs are like wobbly is because I actually throw them around the lab. Like, this lab isn't terribly big, and if I'm in a rush to do something and a chair is in my way, I'll just grab it and kind of very ogrely, like, fling it out of my way. So I haven't necessarily been gentle with them. What the hell am I gonna call this? This is... leg 2. Oh, that is what that is. But yeah, I went and I saw the movie It Too not too long ago with Matt and Mark, the horror movie aficionados. And it kind of reminded me of what I was doing with this whole Michigan trip that I went on. I don't know. everyone in the movie was returning home to Derry. You know, that's where the first movie takes place. And I felt like that was precisely what I was doing. I was returning to this, like, place I had left that I dreaded going back to for reasons. Okay. Same thing goes for you. The movie was good. I also watched Toy Story 4 on the plane, which was good. I think it made me cry the hardest of all of the whole franchise, I guess. What is today? October, September, so it's 10. And 14, 19. Alright. These things are getting transferred to the new thing. They can stay. This is not. Oh man. It was a good trip though. I got to see both sides of my family, which my mom's side of the family is pretty much gone at this point. Which is sadly. We had a death on both sides of the family, which is unfortunate. Both sides of my family still live in Detroit, amazingly, with a few exceptions, but there's people there definitely to go back and visit. My mom's side of the family is very, they're all like traveling performers in some capacity. They're all musicians, singers, dancers, like artisans. Both sides of the family are Polish. My mom, I don't know, very different vibe between families. My dad's side of the family is very, I don't know how to explain it. Like, they're very quintessential suburban family. Nice, good stuff. My grandmother passed, my dad's mom, so we went to a memorial service on Saturday. It was kind of funny. It was at a Catholic church, and I actually did one of the readings, which is something I never in a million years thought I would do in my life. But I don't think I've been to a memorial like that before. But that was kind of sad. I did a lot of thinking. My grandmother lived out here in Vegas with us. Her home was actually where we had all of our family dinners for, God, like a decade and a half of my life. Everyone always used to gather at her house for holidays and stuff. And all of my friends, anyone who was ever close to me, has attended a dinner at my grandmother's home. And we have since sold that home, so it definitely feels like an era of my life has come to an end. Leg 2. V2. Rev 2. And this is the motor mount, and the date is 10/14/19. Does anybody else have any good habits or better habits regarding their previous iterations of stuff that they've made? Like, do you hold on to them or do you just sort of toss them? I'm not sure how other people manage that. Like, I know with the Delta Robot project that Mark and I did, I saved all that, and it's actually part of the exhibit. Like, when we exhibit the Delta Robots, I actually display in display cases all of the versions of the circuit board that went into the project and all of the versions of the robots' parts that I had to design before we got to, like, the final version. So people can see how it changed, I guess, from the time the project started to the thing that they are playing with in the gallery. I don't know why that's so important to me, but it's something that I always tend to include in my work. Design iteration's pretty important in my book as a engineer-like person. That's it. Those are the two things that are getting replaced right now. They're getting replaced with these parts. So if I were to put them next to one another just so you can see what's in question. These are the new parts. These are the old parts. And I'll probably label the new ones now just to kind of get that out of the way. Except these are Rev 3. And as for dating these things, I always tend to just put whatever day I'm doing the install, not necessarily the day it was made or printed or whatever. I don't know. The only thing that really matters is, like, the year, I guess, when it comes to labeling this stuff. There. 1000 size. Sucks that Mark had to work today. Like, right upon getting back from this trip. Okay. I want more cider. We didn't get to take any home with us because the jugs or whatever that they came in were both leaky. So we kind of had to pound whatever cider we bought on the last day before we went to the airport. So I went to pee at the airport like 1,000 times. Because I had way too much. It was good though. But yeah, definitely Yates was the best. I don't think that's the one that my mom took me to. Like, we went to the one that I actually remember in Rochester Hills from my childhood. That was a different one. Yes. Alright, time to reassemble this bitch. New parts. What else did we do? We went to Greektown the last night that we were there, which was the same day as the memorial service. The day before that, my mom went shopping, and me and my dad went and planned the memorial in the morning, and then we just sort of drove around to all of our old locations, like our old houses and stuff, old parks, all of our old schools. I only had one, of course, because I was so young when we moved, but I got to... I don't know. It's not... I don't remember the last time we went and did all of that. I think it was maybe 7 years ago or something. Which it doesn't seem that long. Doesn't seem like it was that long. But alas, it was. Wow. 7 years ago. Feels like maybe 2. And then when I was in college, yeah, I was out there for a couple of weddings, so they were at least good reasons to go back to your hometown. But yeah, the last one was legitimately 7 years ago. I was 25, so it's been a minute since I've been there. It just doesn't feel like it, which is the kind of the tragic thing, I guess, about getting older, is that more time passes and it seems like less time has passed, and I hate that. But yeah, I guess as of now, getting ready for SuperCon. I'm not giving a talk this year for like the first time, which is kind of good, because normally, like, for the entire month of October, I'm kind of stressed figuring out like how I'm going to present, what I'm going to prepare, what I'm going to say. I'm just kind of entirely invested in that headspace going into that con, and I'm not doing that this time. Like, I'm not preoccupied with those types of thoughts, so I'm really able to kind of just continue development on other things. This year seems to have gone by a lot quicker than any others have, which is really strange given it wasn't really as busy as years I've had in the past. So it's a weird thing for me. I mean, I'm just talking about, like, my perception of the passage of time. Because last year, I think, was probably one of the busier, more stressful years I've had. Like, I did spread myself incredibly thin, which was bad, but I did do a lot. Like, a lot of good things happened as a result of all of the things that I decided to create, and things I went and attended, like went out of my way to attend. I pretty much didn't say no to anything for the most part. And I was manic the entire time, but I think it really did pay off. This year was a lot more low-key. I did apply for a lot of things, and I didn't get as many green lights on opportunities. So I applied for a lot of things at the beginning of this year, and for a good chunk of time, I didn't have anything lined up. It was very quiet, which allowed me to focus on finishing off projects that felt like they had loose ends. And while this is really good and all, it's not... I don't know. It's not the type of space you want to dwell in for too long, I guess. The two things that I really wanted to focus on wrapping up were Noodle's body. Not Noodle in general, but just getting his body kind of finalized and not feeling like it's in this pygmy proof of concept kind of stage that it's been in for so long. Like, I really wanted to kind of get his body done, and then I wanted to kind of hone Shiban a little bit, and I have been able to do those things, which is, again, good. But, I don't know. Maybe after all of this is addressed, things will pick up again next year. At least I'm hoping that's the case. There we go. We'll try to stay optimistic. Eternally optimistic. These tiny little screws. So tomorrow I'm going to get tea. And I'm actually going to replace the balls in Noodle's feet, because it seems like the silicone amount is going to be too much for him. They're heavy. They're heavy enough that for now they're going to cause problems. I'm going to... What I'm going to end up doing is I'm getting stress balls for his, I guess... this part right here. So I'm going to get those squishy stress foam balls, cut them in half, and then make attachments for the end of his feet that weigh less, because these are, again, they're pretty heavy. Could probably knock somebody out with this. And then I'm just going to make like silicone socks. Silly socks. Noodle's going to get some silly socks for his feet. And I'm going to slip those on over the balls, or over the socks, rather. So if he's got socks on his Noodles, then I can just put his silicone, like, slippers on over his socks so that he retains the benefit of the silicone, which was, again, traction. And then the stress ball can provide the... how it conforms to the surface he's standing on, which is one of the other features the silicone was supposed to provide. But this way I can have the benefit of both, while not having to sacrifice the fashionable features of socks. Because yeah, as soon as I put the sock over the silicone ball, it no longer provided the traction benefit. Alright. Tiny screws. So yeah, if this version... The other thing that I could do with this is instead of getting rid of those structural mounting points in the center here, I could have just scooted both of these motors back. It would have messed with the overall geometry of my parallelogram of the leg, but it's something I probably could have potentially like adapted to if I was willing to sit down and math it out, but I don't know, I don't really want to do that yet. I don't want to go down that avenue quite yet. Again, if this, making this change right now doesn't end up working, I'm going to, start on the, version 3 of this Feetsio. The feets. Leg feets. Supercon. Supercon, and then I don't know what. I don't know what's next. Sarah's gonna go crazy. But yeah, I am gonna shrink the pulse pack down. I think that's definitely a need for another revision, and then I'm just going to take all the augments that I've made so far and probably hone those a little bit. Get my Sex Gundam suit worked out. Girl ought to have her Sex Gundam suit. Damn it. It's gonna be weird, but whatever. It's gonna be okay. Alright, so this has to go back in now. So the rack slides back into these... the racky-do. Oh, that goes above. Wait. Oh no. Shit, that's bad. It's not supposed to be there. Okay, so this piece right here is not supposed to be... It's not supposed to be there. So I guess I'm gonna have to cut it off. Oh man. Oh man, that sucks. Okay. That's alright. That's why we have nipper cutters and use plastic, right? Ooh, by like a sizable magnitude. No. Wait. Okay. It's gonna cause a problem. So yeah, all of this right here is not supposed to be there. Oh no. Okay. Well, I'm gonna try cutting it. If that doesn't work, then I can reprint the part, but that's gonna suck. Alright. Cut in sand. Sorts of problems. Fun. Oh man, that makes me sad. Off first, and then we'll worry about the other plane. Happens when you hastily design shit. Which I find myself doing too often. Lonely girl. Watch as Sarah aggressively hacks away at her child's leg bone on a Monday in mechanical design purgatory, the place nobody wants to be. I see sandpaper in your future. I might not do this to the rest of the parts, because it occurs to me that the only thing I need to test is the lift feature of this leg and not any other aspect. Like, I already know that the rack and pinion works, so it's probably not even really necessary that I do this. So I might stop, although I already started. Fine, I'll finish this side and then fuck it. Although I guess I need to get the rack on there so that I can attach the shin bone, which has the weight. So maybe I do need to do this. Shit. Sarah talks to herself. Again, I'll state this. The reason I get out of bed every morning is the excitement of assembling the things that I have designed. However, the thing that walks me into the kitchen at 5 o'clock every afternoon is also the things that I have designed and assembling them. By what I mean by walking into the kitchen at 5 is to get a cocktail. Cocktails at 5 are definitely inspired by assembling things that I've designed. But yeah, I was so excited to wake up this morning and get this underway. Mostly in that, I think one of the nights that I was in Michigan, I had some design ideas. I always dream them. There's something about sleeping or thinking about mechanical engineering things, like design problems that I've run into right before bed. It seems like I process them in my sleep, and then I sometimes wake up with just leads, I guess, like design leads or possible solutions to problems that I'm having. And I think this happened one of the nights that I was in Michigan, so I had been thinking about avenues, like design avenues to solve this problem, kind of on and off this weekend, and I'm eager to kind of explore them. But I need to really not do stupid things like this. Although I did print these parts before I left, so this is stupid me from a week ago already that forgot to remove that wall. Meh. Meh. Is that enough? No, but it's gonna cause other problems. Okay. God damn it. The disgust. Oh, I accidentally cut these. All right. At least we have nipper cutters. Nipper cutters and plastic go together really well. Oh, damn. Noodle says mommy needs to pay attention more when she's doing stuff. So she doesn't have to make plastic chunks. It's okay. Oh God. No launching plastic across the room, Sarah. Detroit. There was a Wings Leafs game on last night? No, Saturday night, which I wanted to catch. The one and only game I ever saw in the Joe Louis Arena in Detroit was a Red Wings versus the Leafs. But that was 10 years ago. Long time ago. Probably even 12 years ago, now that I think about it. I was like 20. Or just about to turn 20. And we were out for another funeral, which is pretty much the only reason why we go back there these days. That or a wedding. It's not bad so long as it's not snowing. I don't do good with cold anymore. Like, my blood is entirely too thin these days. Like, anytime we have to go back in the winter, it's just, like, it's awful. I don't really have clothes for the winter like that. I mean, I guess I do, because I went to college in Chicago and, like, somewhere stored away from my life and my awareness is this closet of clothes that I had to wear as a college student. So, like, my Sarah student clothes are, like, tired down jackets, pea coats, lots of actual pants. I had like Ugg boots that I used to wear in the heavily salted streets, so they look like I went into many terrible battles. Just gross clothes. They're clothes that I haven't worn since that like point in time in my life. Really thick scarves that wrap around your head in like a continuous circle. Thick socks, stuff that I have no reason to wear here in Vegas for any reason whatsoever. Vegas, Las Vegas. I'm going to my tea monger tomorrow to pick out green tea. I always talk about this, or maybe I don't, I have no idea, but our coffee pot is like thoroughly tainted. Tainted coffee, I call it. We drink tainted coffee. Like, something is wrong with the tank. It needs to be, like, burned or bleached or something, like, multiple times, because the coffee just doesn't taste right anymore. And we probably just need to, like, get a new coffee pot. I mean, it's been many years. I remember when Mark got this one. It's, like, way back when we first started dating. It's bad. It's, like, I'll just call it taint coffee. How about that? It's nasty taint coffee. So I'm gonna try and stop drinking it. Like, if we aren't going to get a new coffee pot, if Mark isn't gonna budge on that, then I'm probably just going to switch to drinking tea again since it's getting to be winter. I'll wake up in the morning and make myself green tea or something. Or I'll get myself my own tiny pot and just make tea in it, like Jemmy cha, that burnt rice tea, Genmai cha. The tea I can't pronounce. Oh God. Okay. For the sake of testing this, please just... I don't know, what is your problem now? Is it still too high? I think it is. just gonna sit here and groan. An infinite amount of groans. By like a lot. I should just reprint the part. Ugh. Okay. For the sake of just testing this, I'm going to disassemble this part since it's not that difficult to do, and slide the individual pieces on and connect the leg. Because the only thing I'm testing is really this axis. Don't really want to do that, but whatever. I don't really want to keep cutting these with nippers, and I think to print these two parts, it takes like 3 hours or something, which I really don't want to have to wait that long for parts that I don't necessarily have to have. That is okay. We cry as a unit. Doesn't matter. Meh. Just make a noodle mech with the old version of his body, because that was pretty solid. The geometry just worked fine because it was simple. Like, this is probably making it way more complex than it ever needed to be for duding and scooting, but we want Noodle to amble like a pony. Like, he needs to be able to keep up with me. Like, I have this goal, this like weird bucket list goal of taking Noodle to either IKEA or some other, no, probably just IKEA. I want to take Noodle to IKEA and have him walk around with me. And then I want to take him to Austria for an Ars festival and have him actually follow me around. Even if it's just walking. The following thing is kind of a lofty goal, but I would like to have him capable of moving his butt around in a fairly confident, majestic way. And again, I know that that is a lot to ask, because it is not an easy thing to do, but I wanted that to be the thing that I overcame with this project, come hell or high water, because that was the point in and of itself to begin with. Is that in the right hole? No. Have to get it in the right hole, Sarah. It's kind of important. Just got to bound like a pony. We all need to bound like a pony. What? So once I get this mechanism finalized, which at this point in time seems like a hell of a lot to ask, but in the hypothetical situation that I do actually work this out and get a leg design that I'm comfortable with, I have to decide what color all the parts are going to be. I have 3 different shades of gray filament, so I'm probably going to do that fun thing that you can do in Fusion 360 where you render everything. I know in SketchUp you could just kind of paint stuff, and in Fusion you have to kind of select specific material types. Why are you not going? No. So I'm gonna figure that out before I print stuff. I'm going to kind of come up with a look for these things. I'm kind of secretly banking on having to use the rack and pinion design for both ranges of motion, because I think it'll look kind of neat. And at this point I'm kind of fed up with pulleys. Like, I'm convinced that they're like the hellspawn of Noodle. They're like the bane of Noodle moving without being wiggly. Would you think being wiggly would be an okay thing for a Noodle-based life form? But I kind of want Noodle to be solid, because I'm pretty sure he's not going to be able to walk unless he is fairly solid. We kind of concluded this long ago, me and Noodle Shape Daddy, that yeah, he's gonna have to not have a lot of play if he's ever going to amble with the best of them, such as it is. Alright, I think I can probably pull off. Nah, it's not gonna fit. It's okay. It's okay, Sarah. Shh. Alright. So that would have gone there. So this is going to have one attachment point for the time being. We shall see how this goes. So this is going to go through the fence. Interesting. I think the incorrect version of something got printed on accident, which is a bummer. I think I printed another. No, I didn't, because the holes are gone. Weird. Okay. I don't know how that happened. That's okay. It'll get fixed. Alright, I need longer hardware. Alright, I'll be right back. I need to get something longer than this. Oh, I need to go back to the hardware store. Is that a 30? No, it is not. I cry at night. Is this a 30? No, that is way more than a 30. Are you? Nope. Okay. What did I use previously? I'm not even sure. Oh well. I have this mystery bag of hardware that I can dig through until my soul just sort of renders out of my body. It's also not the correct size. Good heavens me. Man. I'll come back to my computer in a bit. I did not expect this to take so long to assemble, but alas, here we are. I need 30s. These are all 20s. I'm gonna throw my shit across the room. Gonna throw a fit. Yay. Artists pretending to be mechanical engineers. Fra-la-la. Fra-la-la-la-la-la. These are old myths. Are you sure this doesn't fit? Can I make it fit? Can I make it work? Ah! Let the bodies hit the floor. Oh. Nope. Ah! I just want to have the things I need when I need them. Are these 30s? No, they are 24s. 28s. I do not. Wow. Come on, bag. Bag o' miscellaneous hardware, do not let me down. There's no way that I'm entirely, utterly out of 30s. Or maybe there is. Man, I'm sorry. This is a bummer. I did not expect to be digging through my auxiliary hardware bag during this stream. But here we are. Here I am. There should be like a sadness, like a song of shame that I have to sing while I'm digging through my hardware bag, trying to find hardware. I mean, have we all done this? Is this something that like all proper engineers have to go and do at some point? Is just like cry inside and dig through a bag of miscellaneous sad hardware that just sort of lives here because no one loves it? Are the 30s really that much bigger? Is this actually in fact a 30 and I've like... No, that's a 34. Okay, so I've got 34s and 26s, but I do not have... Wait, what are you? Are you my knight in shining armor? Oh my god. Yes! Oh my god. I found one. The elusive 30mm in length. Screw. Shit. Looks like I'm going to McFadendale tomorrow. Woohoo! I mean, nah, I'm not gonna go there now. Nope. What about you? No. I need two, and then I can just put this together and then chuck it across the room. And cry. I can go cry somewhere. Drink my green tea. Ugh. Drink tea and cry in the yard like a real adult. I'm like 2 seconds from taking this whole bag and upending it on the table, but I know I would instantly regret doing that. So I'm really trying to refrain from however attractive that sounds right now. Come on. Oh. Nope. Alright. Oh. Now I need a back massage. I can't find it. I give up. I'm pretty sure that goes past halfway anyway, and it ain't gonna work. Alright, I'm gonna wing it. Like I ain't never done that before. Get on that side. Okay. It's not really technically a good, solid, like, meaningful test if you don't do it the correct way, which is concerning me. How did I use another size before? Not this size this time. Is the depth different? It is different. Why? Because this was with the thinner pieces. Okay. Okay. Hi. Okay, I left my microphone over here. Oh god. What are you doing, Sarah? I'm gonna scroll up through the chat and see what you guys have been talking about. Well, I dug through a bag of hardware and chopped up a piece of plastic and whatever the hell else I did. Oh man. Almost at that. Yes. Huh. Okay. Okay, I'm going to start a new print because one of the things, I don't know how this ended up happening, but, and man, it got dark in here. Why? Okay, so one of the things that ended up happening is, I think when I copied the assembly from like the original to like modify it and do a completely different version of that version, one of the parts hadn't gotten saved or something when I copied it, so the depth of it is like a few millimeters wider than it ought to be, so the hardware that was originally in it is too short, because I was using 26 millimeter hardware for everything that, you know, stapled all the layers together, and 30 is actually too long, and I don't have any of them anyway. Like, even in that whole big bag of hardware, I don't have enough 30s to do the job. So I'm gonna have to reprint that piece that I awkwardly hacked at. I'm gonna go through my Fusion bits. Here they are. Nope. Yes. There we go. Alright, I'm gonna go through these fusion-y bits. And I need to get calipers real quick. Hang on. Wait. Okay, so I am there. Alright, calipers, and I need to get the part that it should be like. Actually, I don't have to do that because I'm fairly certain I have the other version of this open still. I do. Okay, cool. Sweet. So if I... Not a guide rail. This should be fence. Okay, so if I remove the fence and have a look-see at this. Alright, so this piece right here needs to be 8.2 millimeters thick, but here it is 11. Aha. Ha ha ha. So that's our problem. Goody goody. Alright, fair enough. If I remove the, oh god. Piston. Let's see. From the inside to here, it is 4.2. Seven. Okay, that's not good. Okay. Was it 4.2? So 2.8. All right, that's correct. And then 2.2. It needs to be. What was it? 7.2. Okay, so that means these holes also need to go up an amount. Which means that this should be 1.5. That's good enough. Okay. Alright. That's fixed. That part shouldn't be there. This rail-y bit on the top should not be there, because it is not on this one. But by how much? 3. So that's how much? Ugh, so I have in like a specific amount. Yuck. Okay, fine. We can do this the weird way. I mean, I kind of like it the weird way anyhow. Whoa. I don't know what the hell just happened there. The fuck? Weird. That like broke. Whatever. That doesn't know what the hell's going on. Interesting. Is that a body? Still connected to that? What? Are you kidding me? What even is that? There's not even anything in it. How did that even happen? Okay. Okay. Fine. Huh. Let's try this. Let's try, like, faking something and then destroying it with the fake. Here, like, can I cut, join, and then can I just, it's the only way I know how to, like, get rid of things that shouldn't exist. No. Okay, that's just magic garbage right there. Apparently. I don't even know. I don't even know how. Okay. It's like never happened before. Fun. Fine. Fine. Ugh. If you're gonna be that way, fine. Okay. Fair enough. Let's just do some double checking and then I'll reprint this. 6 millimeter. No. Nope, nope, nope. Alright, that's also 6. The thickness of the entire piece, 7.2. No. 8.2. Oh. Okay, so it is 8.2. Okay. 8.2. And from here to here, it should be 4.2. Okay, so that looks about correct. Okay. Other than this piece of trash. I can't stop saying the word trash now because I watched Toy Story 4 and it's now my favorite word. Trash. That was the other thing. That too. That'd do. Did that print? And perilously she threw her body against the machine. Save as STL. What should I save this STL as? Sadness. Ugh. Here, look at me while I do this. Uh-oh. I hate being cold. My fingers always chill and slow me down a lot. I think UK has similar weather and I don't even start a... Yes. So which part of the leg are you working on? It's the crossbars, the parallel crossbars and of his leg. Both motors are located in there now, so I have no idea if that's a good idea or not, but I'm going to try and get it working somehow so that some of the motors are located lower than they were in the previous version, just to sort of offset the length of his body and the whole top-heavy pendulum effect of his head. Nah, Bradley, I won't throw myself at the printer. I don't know. I don't know what I'm gonna throw my body against. Maybe the couch in a bit. But yeah, I gotta... Alright, I'm gonna print this thing. So I've got my cord, I've got my... my dongle. I've got the appropriate... whatever this is. Cracker. And I'm going to... Did I name that part Sadness? I think I named that part Sadness. I'll be just a second. Okay, I'm going to drag Sadness onto the print bed, and I'm going to print some Sadness. I'm going to flip the second copy along the green axes, and then these things are going to print. Slice now. Two hours and 23 minutes. It is 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Wow, it is really 3 already? Shit. Oh, time goes back to speedy flyby now that I'm home. Okay, so that means that Mark will be home in an hour and a half. This won't be done for another hour after that, so... Oh, 5:30. I will have my part. Export G-code to the Prusa. Sadness to the Prusa. Alright. Okay. I'm going to stick this in the Prusa, and then I will be right back. And then I'm going to probably doodle a bit more. Yeah? Doodle do. Be right back. Okay. I have imported Sadness to the Prusa. It will now experience Sadness for the next 2 hours and 22 minutes. Okay. So, I'm going to draw how I think the next leg is going to work. And this would be... Leg 2. Version 3. Revision 1. So it's a new thing of this thing. And this is going to include a rack and pinion style actuator for the knee and for the lift motion as well. But not a pinion for the lift motion, that doesn't make any sense. I guess that would be a spur gear and a planetary gear for the lifting motion. And I'm pretty sure I'm gonna run into problems with that, but I think I know how it would work at this point in time. I just have to, like, be willing to muscle my way through all the mistakes I'm surely to make in taking the concept in my head and making it a physical thing that actually does what it ought to do. If that makes any sense. But here, if I'm going to draw it, I can show you what I mean. Oh, thank you. I'm happy you like my flamingos. There will be Noodle's sibling will be a flamingo robot soon. Or is a flamingo robot, just doesn't really work very well. Not that any of my robots work very well. They work, just not well. Just like me. Okay, so... Nope, that's not the correct thing. Bam. Okay. I'm going to put all of these things in a folder and turn them off too. And I'm going to sketch how I think this leg ought to be. The one that I'm about to make. So it's going to be a modification of what I currently made, or what I just made. Because half of it is working, the other half just needs to be tweaked a bit. It's probably not going to change a whole lot. It's just going to need to change in such a way that it accommodates attaching to the femur in a little bit different way. Right, I already have a layer. Okay, so right now I have the two motors that are butt to butt. And there is currently on top of them, let's see, this one has a gear attached to it, which I'm going to probably end up plopping onto this one as well. It's going to similarly have a gear. Right now, this one, which is the knee kick. Oh, I love it when it just doesn't right kick. Yay. So the knee kick one is currently a rack so that slides in and out in order to pivot the knee at an angle. That's not how you spell angle. There. So the thing that I'm probably going to try to do with the other side is, that's not a layer, that is a folder, Sarah. I'm going to have it connected to, oh my god, I can't draw. Close enough. To, oh my. It's going to be stationary, connected to the femur. Which probably only goes to about there. Sarah, being all dramatic with your lines. There. Attached to it is probably going to be a short, roundy piece that has part of a planetary. And I don't know how much it's going to need to accommodate for, but I'm imagining probably not even that many teeth. As this guy rotates, it's going to ride up or down on the planetary teeth and rotate this entire bone up and down. But the thing that has to happen is that this needs to stay, the middle of the hub needs to stay stationary relative to where it's pinned on the actual femur itself, which might end up being a promble. And that will give me my, oh man, my up and down angle for that bone. Such as it is. So that's kind of the thing that I'm thinking of doing. And this occurred to me while I was reconsidering how to do this joint. I could also attach the noodle shin to something of a spur gear here at the top, and then have that connected to, oh my. Drawing gears is hard, kids. Having that connected to the motor gear. Like that. So instead of having a rack and pinion, just have it like directly driving. Where is it? There it is. Have it directly driving the shin bone as such, so that as this rotates, it's just actually turning the shin because it's connected to the gear. That was one of the things that I thought might also be possible. I don't know how that would work torque-wise, or if that would put more strain on the knee joint. But in envisioning that, I was like, well, hey, can that translate in some capacity over here to this, the rotation of this joint? If I had, say, a gear, one of these guys right here, and that was somehow stationary, and then this gear would try to crawl up something. I'm like, well, it wouldn't work if there were a gear, or the motor would have to be here, and then there would have to be a gear here in some capacity to rotate it. But if there was a planetary gear, or a partial planetary gear, then that would fulfill the toothiness, or the purpose of having this guy right here, the mate. And I'm not entirely sure if this works. Like, I'm trying to like visualize how that would work, and I admittedly, my brain cannot render how that sort of motion would work, or if it would work, but it seems like something like that should be possible. Maybe, if I'm able to figure it out. And it might just be kind of a matter of me assembling what I think it ought to be, seeing how it fails, and then making adjustments accordingly, which is kind of what I had to do when learning how to make the Delta robot. Like, I didn't really grok how the Delta was moving and what was necessary in order for the Delta to move the way it did until I built the first version of it that didn't work. and then all the learning happened. So I'm thinking that if I create something kind of like this with the weird planetary crawly gear that causes it to do one of these, I'm gonna have to fail at it once. So that's probably not a bad thing. It's just going to mean that this is going to take a little bit more time. On the other hand, if this pulley matter works, the thing that I'm attempting to assemble right now, if I'm adjusting that triangle, that mechanical geometry a little bit does actually solve the torque problem I was having with the motor, then I might just stick with that design for the time being, just for the sake of getting it working, getting it out, getting it doing, so that Noodle can actually walk like a proper noodle. There we go. That's a mess. Sarah, you're a mess. There I am. So yeah, that's the plan. So I just drew what I'm thinking of making. I might cat it. I don't know, how long have I been yammering? 2 hours and 40 minutes. Okay. I mean, I could dive into some deep CAD stuff. I might do that. Let's see. Let me check up on my my social stuff real quick, and I'll decide what I'm gonna do. I did eat before this stream. Okay. Okay, so for those of you who are here... Oh, I seem sleepy now? Oh no. I'm just deciding what to do. So... options. Well, I can't test the current iteration until I have that print done, and I can install it on the leg. So that's kind of out of the question for the time being. I can start designing the next thing that I have in mind preemptively, which is technically design creep, which is something that I would get yelled at for normally. I kind of want to try it out anyway, because if I can eventually get rid of pulleys altogether, that would be nice. Noodle doesn't want pulleys in his body bits. I don't know, but that's gonna involve me switching over to Fusion. I don't know, are you guys interested in watching that at all? Like, if so, then I can just keep the stream going and then dive into the Fusion, the deep Fusion. If not, then I can pick this up again tomorrow once I have more parts in tow, in foot. I don't know. Tell me what you guys want. Aw, man, you want stories? Tell you stories? I don't know stories, man. Oh, what have I done? What could I talk about? I don't know. I don't know. I'm trying to think. I know I have stories. I just usually require a prompt or a beer or something. Alright, guys. Alright. Here. Alright, can you see that? Yes, you can. Okay. So... I need to close some of these things. Right, I don't need that. I don't need that. That I might need. Okay. Alrighty, I'm just tidying up a bit because I had like 500 windows open. Alright, I do not need my old tablet for the time being. We're gonna do this. We're gonna attempt to design some crazy shit. I'm not entirely sure what I'm doing, so I'm going to disclaimer this with a, I'm not sure what I'm actually doing. I'm just sort of chasing some vague, like, concept that I dreamt about the other night because it seems like it ought to work in my Sarah mind, but my Sarah mind is not entirely mechanically inclined. It just sort of pretends that it is. So I'm going to just do what I think ought to work. I'm going to make it and then print it and then we'll see. And if it fails miserable, then we can all have a good laugh together because you saw it come into existence. Yeah, that's the plan. I'm going to drink my water. Ow. The fuck? Okay, so I should maybe leg rack planetary 3 vertical tendon. Okay, so I should just name these what they're called. Oh, I see what it's doing there. Okay. Fun. Okay. It's not planetary. So I'm going to rename this what I had it on the other one. The V2 Rev 2 Okay. Oh. So if I copy this, rename it V3 Rev 1. We will go from here. Alright. But then I don't have... I think I just modified this one from Rev 1, so there is no longer a Rev 1. Our Rev 1 is part of this one. Let me get rid of the sketch. Where is it? Why are there so many sketches? There. Okay. Okay. Now this is tricky because I don't know exactly what I'm gonna end up doing with this bone. Right here. Here, let's refresh these pieces. Okay. Cannot. Why are you not letting me select anything? No? Okay, so I'm not able to select any of the surfaces right now. Oh, okay, there we go. Weird. Okay, there. Now I got rid of that phantom shit shape that was not wanting to go away. Alright, and then I should have in bodies a thing, or not a thing. I mean, I should have the fence piece. Somewhere? Maybe? No? Now I'm very confused. Again. Girl assesses her own CAD, tries to understand why it is broken. That's not supposed to be like that either. Interesting. Okay, I'm trying to, like, figure out something for a minute, because something is amiss, and I cannot quite put my finger on what yet. Ah, okay, that makes sense. Okay, so the only thing that has the correct all of the things is this one, which is the version that isn't missing the two structural holes in the center. Those can, of course, stay since I'm no longer needing to move this motor back. In fact, I might actually have to move it in a bit if it's going to make contact with the, this whatever gear teeth I end up putting here, the planetary teeth, I guess. Okay, so, alright, here's what I'm gonna do. This can go away. This is actually going to get deleted. So I'm going to duplicate this one instead. So this one is going to become leg 2 version 3 rev 1 because it's just correct already. The second one was being fussy and it's weird. I'm gonna open that. And that should be a duplicate of this, and I'm gonna modify that one instead. So this should have all the correct shapes that I need, like the fence piece and the correct, not that, piston, that guy right there. All right, so those are the important parts, and they are correct. Those are up to date and not shitty. Huh. But I'm gonna open up this one just for the hell of it, and I don't know. This is probably never gonna get looked at again since I don't know if it's probably not gonna work. But I'll leave it like this just to be polite in case I need to reference it later for some stupid reason. Okay, so I'm working with this one. We will update it. I had this thing open. Alright. So I'm going to name this heel gear. I'm gonna name that heel gear. I'm going to import that here. And I'm going to attach it to the hub of my motor. My fence is going to need to be modified. I'll worry about that later, but that's okay. I don't know if that's okay. How am I gonna do that? That will stay like that. Shit's about to get weird. Okay, I'm gonna leave these alone. The planetary gear part that this is going to mesh with needs to be attached to the femur itself, so it's going to actually be separate from this leg assembly altogether. So it's actually going to be a feature that belongs to this. How am I gonna do that? I like making my life hard. Man. Like a G6. Okay. Okay. That's the other thing that's going to be interesting about this, is that half of this gear thing that I want to make is rack like, and then it has like a heel, and then it continues on the other side like a rack. So it's like part planetary and part rack. Because it's like a corner. I don't even know if that is that possible. Like, does anyone in the chat room actually know enough about gears to know if you can make kind of like a armpit out of gear teeth and actually have a spur gear rotate on the inside of it? Like, is there like some stipulation as far as the radius goes or anything like that? Like, I have no idea. I feel like I should like call Tony or something. Wait, I can do this. Oh man, the chat just like went a whole bunch. Lived in with his mommy and one of his daddies in the magical land of Las Vegas. Yes. Once upon a time there was a little noodle, and he really, really, really wanted to go into space. But he knew that because of the way that he would never get picked to go into space because he was perceived by the rest of the world not to have the right kind of value. But he still had that dream, and he really, really wanted to go. And his mommy and his daddies loved him so much that they were willing to try in whatever capacity they could to help get him into space so that he could taste all of the space shapes and hug all of the rocks. And they're still trying at it to this day. But they know that if Noodle is going to go into the space and play with the rocks, he's going to at the very, very least, need a blanket, a yellow blanket, and to walk. So the walking's the harder part, but the blanket part they took care of immediately, and they got him a yellow blankie, and then they put him in the sandbox, and they're like, you can stand on the dirt, you need to be able to move around the dirt, so we'll work on that, but you just sit there and look cute in the meantime. And mommy's going to entertain everybody with the effort that it takes to get the legs in the walking condition so that he can move. And they all lived happily ever after. What if I switched it the other way around? No, I don't know what you're talking about. What if I switched it the other way around? How? I'm gonna message Shape Daddy right now because he's home today. It's a holiday. And I'm gonna ask him if he knows. So I'm phoning a friend. Phone a friend. Maybe he would like to come over and have a beer, and then we can talk about things. Leg things. Mark's not home for another little bit. Not that he'd have any idea. Mark knows about as much as I do as far as mechanical design is concerned. So whenever we talk at each other, it's all just us saying like highly speculatory nonsense garbage at one another. Tony actually knows quite a bit about linkages and different types of mechanisms that have different purposes and things like that. Because at one time he was a student to become a mechanical engineer in some capacity. So he has some like actual formal mechanical design input in the form of actual math and stuff, where I do not really. I just sort of like suck from the internet teat as much as I possibly can, but it doesn't give me experience. So I definitely call on the parent who has the mechanical experience when I get stuck like this. I think like the one major thing that I'm trying to overcome is the wobble, the lash. of the leg. I think that the motor is in fact going to be strong enough to lift the leg once I take a little bit of that weight off of the toe, the silicone toe, and switch to a different type of lift linkage. Come have a beer with me. Come have a beer with me. I want more donuts. I had 2 cinnamon donuts in Michigan. It was nice. We got out of the car and it smelled like forest because there are forests everywhere. And one of the cool things about Michigan when it's not snowing and shitty is that you can kind of drive on the road and look, just like look out the window and you can see through the trees. There's like these little magical vignettes where there's a house and then the house has its own lake with a bunch of trees and grass and like a lawn, and it's like this little micro diorama of like a world that a person lives in, and there's a whole bunch of them, and you just sort of drive by and you see them like back to back to back to back, so it's kind of like you're like looking through this like picture box thing at like little fantasy fairy tale lands, and I like that because you don't really get that in Vegas. Like all of our houses are so close together here, and they're also similar because there's like housing developments that each housing development just has the same type of shit in it. So it's just the same type of housing development with the same type of houses over and over and over again, and it gets kind of like boring, I guess, where there's something about the living conditions in the Midwest that retain some element of mysticism to me, because nothing really seems the same. Like there isn't a lot of cookie cutter house spaces. It's like genuinely a lot of interesting, I don't know, like homes and plots of land and things that people have done to their plots of land. It just seems a lot more diverse. You're a lot more likely to see things that take you by surprise, catch you off guard, I guess. There are definitely things I don't like about it there. Like, I don't like that you have to drive for like a half an hour in between housing development areas to get back to civilization. It seems like everything is spread out a lot more, where in Vegas, everything's kind of, it is really tightly packed together, and it doesn't take very long before you are in an area where there's a lot of people doing lively things. So I guess living here, you feel a lot more like there's life around you. I don't know. Plenty of life around you in Michigan too. It's just like raccoons and possum life. And deer. I saw deer. It made sense in the context of... Oh, damn. I hate that there's a delay with the chat. Yeah, the desert's weird. Like, I'm kind of adapted for it at this point. Like, I've lived here for a long time. I've lived here for a really long time. I don't know. I like being warm. Like, I can't imagine moving someplace that isn't mostly warm. Did I win the 250? No, I've never won a Hackaday prize. Ever. I've applied for, I think I did twice. I applied last year and I made it as like one of the, like the large, vast quantity of finalists that made it into each category. So I was one of like 100 for human computer, 20. I was one of 20 for human computer interfaces. I think it was there's 20 finalists, or maybe it was 100. It was like a large number. And then I don't think I made it to be a finalist in whatever year I did the first time I applied. Might have been 2015. But yeah, no, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Like, I'm going to SuperCon in a couple of weeks in Pasadena, and I have no idea what my game plan is going to be. Usually I plan some sort of like disruptive, subversive, like NoodleCon-esque type event or thing or something to present, but since I'm not really giving a talk, like I don't have a umbrella like idea to kind of guide my shenanigans, I guess, or give them a point. So I'm not really sure what I'm gonna do. I might just go and catch up with my friends and be a raptor in the wild. It's been a strange year. This year's definitely a lot less, it hasn't been as aggressive as past years. Like, I've just kind of been laying low more often than I normally do. Which isn't bad, it's just, I don't know, different. I should be working on a submission video for something else that I want that's due in 2 weeks, but the idea of doing it at this point is seeming daunting. Like, I want to apply with Shiban, and I don't really have, like, a core, like, video that really illustrates what the project is about very well, so I need to make one, but the amount of effort that goes into producing a video like that is kind of daunting, especially with a project that is kind of many smaller projects that make it up, so I'm not sure how I'd even spin that and cover everything cohesively. I don't know. I mean, there's still definitely time to do it. I just have to kind of smack myself a bunch, get my butt in gear, and then do the thing. Oh, how did I get the shirt? Oh. No, I think they gave these away at Maker Faire that year. And I think it wasn't the first year they did it, it was the second year they did it. So I think I applied for the first time in 2014, maybe? I don't remember. But they were giving these away at Maker Faire, and I took 2 because they're this really, really soft, like, jersey material, like, really soft. And I was like, ooh, like, this is like the type of thing that I'd want to sleep in. So I grabbed 2, Mark took 2 as well, and then very shortly thereafter, he no longer fit into the size that he grabbed 2 of, so I have 4 of them now, and I think probably half of the time this is what my sleep shirt ends up being, and since I tend to just get up and work in whatever I slept in most days, I'm usually just wearing one of this exact shirt, so that's why I have it on so often, I guess. And then I only tend to wear Hackaday shirts just because I have so damn many of them. I did write for them for a while, so I guess it's not a weird thing. We tend to collect artifacts from places where we've worked in the past, right? I mean, I know Mark does. Fake winner. Totally. Ah. Where's Shape Daddy? Come on, Shape Daddy. He told me to hang on a second. He's welding right now. So I'm like disrupting his welding. Like a good friend. Tony taught me how to weld. True story. Here's a story. Oh, never mind. Here he is. Alright, I'm gonna ask him about the leg. Or I'll ask him to come over here, actually. Okay. Oh. Damn it. Tony, I just sent you a bunch of words in Messenger. Sorry, I just saw that you're in the stream chat. I want to make a planetary gear that's half rack on the top and the bottom. Like, here. I'll show you, because I just drew it in the stream. Okay, kind of like this. So if I were to make it bigger... And I don't know if this would work, but this is like kind of the thing that I was talking about making or threatening making a while back. I don't know if you remember. We had talked about this. So it would be a rack. Probably not that many teeth. That's probably too many teeth. But then it would be a planetary gear, and then it would be a rack again, like that. And then there would be the mating spur gear would ride on that. There. That's a spur gear. You know what I mean. I know you know what I mean. I would probably need help doing it because I have the generator for both types of rack gear and spur gear or whatever, but they use different parameters. Like you have to enter in different things, so it's not as easy to get them to match up because I can't just take the values from that I enter into one and put them in the values to generate the other because it asks for different things, and I'm not entirely sure. I'm not sure what is critical to translate from one into the other so that I can marry the two different shapes into one, if that makes any sense. And then I'm not entirely sure if I'm even conceptualizing the design of this type of joint correctly. Not that this is anything you can answer in text through the pizza that we're doing right now. There we go. And the ability to kick stuff. Yes. Desert at midnight. Sarah fights someone in a robot fight. Winner gets the other's gear. 2 bots enter, 1 bot leaves. I won't ever fight with Noodle. I'm super against that. Like every time I tell somebody I'm a roboticist, which is like 50% of the time I tell people I'm a roboticist, the other half of the time I'll say artist, it depends. But when I say like roboticist, guaranteed the next question is, do you do battle bots? And I'm like, no. No, that's violent. Okay, Shape Daddy has an idea of what I'm talking about. I'm gonna let you type, because there's a delay and I know that there's probably more coming. He's watching all spooky-like? I don't know. Wait, let me check my... There. I'm just going to spam you with oxes. Of winning battle bots are against the rules anyway. So no robot fights at all, or only no robot fights involving Noodle. I don't know. I think like if someone approached me and said, hey, kind of like the Jack Links thing, if I was approached by someone who said, make a robot for battle bots and compete, I would probably do it, but it would have nothing to do with Noodle, because Noodle's like my son, and you don't like make a baby and then raise it to do cockfights, because, I mean some people might, but that's not my main dig, especially with Noodle. Dabbing is what you do after you pee. Might not be as simple as straight racks on either end depending on how the leg bones have to attach. I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. I'll just keep repeating that. I just realized that I have just bras behind me forever. 100 bras. Robots, anyway, depending on your definition. It might end up being a really weird gear design. Do you think it's possible to do that, though? I was explaining in the stream earlier, here, I'll go back to the thing real quick, Tony. No, wrong one. Okay. That's not it either. Shit. Okay, so... was I explaining this? Nope. There, okay. So I was originally thinking that I could also pull off the knee, like, rotation-y thing that I'm doing with the rack, using a, another gear. So if the shin bone was attached directly to another gear, which was rotated by the gear attached to the motor, it could directly drive it to spin it at an angle, however much I wanted. It could potentially even swing up, like, I don't know, could invert itself and kick entirely up if it wanted to. It'd give me a lot more range than the rack would, but I don't know if that would put more strain on the motor or the gears. Seems like it ought to. And then I was thinking of potentially doing the same thing on this side to get the same type of rotation with the leg in general, but instead of using two spur gears to pull off that type of movement, to invert the gear or unfold the gear and use some sort of like wall that it would ride on. But then the wall thing would have to be attached to the femur, and then it would have to be a separate piece from the leg bone, but the leg bone would also have to be fixed to the femur in some capacity to keep it registered, right? It has to be connected to it somehow. But this would, the point in which the connection is attached to the leg piece would have to rotate, but remain fixed in its relative position to the femur, and just be capable of rotating in place depending on whether the motor is spinning with the gear attached to it. Does that make sense? Oh wait, because I know there's a delay and pizza. Some of them have automated functions. With those motors, it's not likely to work better than the sliding rack on. And just use a relay to unlock. That hole fixed to the femur in some capacity is going to make the gear design fun. Okay. Alright, then if it's going to take beer and Sharpie, are you up for beer and Sharpieing sometime soon or later? Because I'm going to keep banging my head over it for a little while. Like I'm gonna design what I think it needs to be, or I'm gonna start heading in that direction. But I am going to run into issues making that specific type of like rail. I guess it's like a rail gear. I don't know what you'd even call that. It's like a curved rack. Yeah. Rack. Yeah. The other half of the thing works though. Like the rack and pinion with the spur gear to make the knee kick out a little bit is like fine. Like if I can get it to be captured in place nice and tight so that it glides in its cavity nice and smooth, then the movement amount seems to be appropriate and the motor just kind of does it fine. It's just the other side that I'm having issues with now for reasons. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for coming to do the do. I'm going to... I don't know, what else can I work on in the meantime? No. No. Okay. No. Why does it keep doing that? There. Okay. I'm not sure. This is gonna be weird. This whole thing is going to be really weird. Of course it is. Of course it's going to be weird. I mean, this can be the attachment point, but then it's not good. Ooh. Oh man. Or... I'm sorry, I'm like dejectedly staring out into the screen and chewing on the inside of my cheek in a very stressed out manner. I'm trying to visualize what I'm going to try and do, which might involve me being very quiet for a while because I have no idea at this point. So this might be a good time to like end the stream, maybe? I don't know, it depends. I mean, Micus, Noodle's not... I'm not doing this for Noodle to be able to kick stuff, it's more for him to be able to walk. Because I think one of the things that I realized earlier this spring was that Noodle was never going to be able to walk well, like he wasn't ever going to be able to walk in a graceful, agile way in his current form. So the idea was that I add another range of motion to his legs because it seemed like that was the one missing that would allow him to actually be able to carry the weight of his body up and over himself, which is something he can't currently do. He just kind of like does snow angels on the ground and like kind of propels himself forward, like almost, I don't know, in a sloppy manner. Like it works, but it's not. He never has control over his weight and his momentum or anything. He just kind of just, I don't know. It's not good, because if you think about it, he's got the radial symmetry. So as his legs rotate to kind of carry him forward, they're not really going in straight angles. They're kind of going against one another in a weird rotatey sort of way. And that's because I think he lacks the ability to kind of adjust the pitch of his feet to kind of help carry himself like up and over in a straight direction. I don't know if I'm even making any sense at this point. The knees being able to bend a little bit will help him like scoot and like push himself forward instead of just kind of like breaststroking, I don't know, forward in an awkward way as he's doing right now. It's something that I think I've known for a long time that I was going to have to add. It's just now I'm finally having to implement it, and it's harder than... Well, that part wasn't hard. Moving the motor down like I did is ending up to be an issue, the lift motor. So if I had just left the lift motor where it was to begin with, because there wasn't technically a problem with it, it worked fine that way. If I had just left well enough alone, then I could potentially just be working on him again. But I wanted to lower his weight down a bit, so I decided to move that motor, and that was partially an aesthetic choice too, because having all those motors up like near his head gave him kind of like this chunky, like black neck piece looking, I don't know, appearance, which I think everyone got used to, and it just became part of Noodle, so it's not really a big deal. But he originally wasn't supposed to have that, or at least my drawn character doesn't have that as part of what he's about. So motors got moved down. Pizza, pizza, pizza. A literal kick, it's extending the range of the... Yes. Make a separate hinged extension on the lower leg that simulates a kick without moving the actual leg. Why not make a separate? I don't know. I don't know how I would implement that. Like a leg on top of a leg, and you use that piston to kick the second leg out. I think that would change the aesthetic of Noodle too much. Because, like, I think like, if I had a hierarchy of, like, design stipulations in regard to Noodle, I think the very top one is that, the look of the robot has to appear like the illustration of Noodle. So Noodle was first and foremost a character that I draw, who has sort of, like, this specific kind of, tawny appearance with, like, really chunky feet and eyes. So if I can manage it, I have to stay true to that and not deviate from it. And I think that I wouldn't make changes that would take me away from that aesthetic versus bring me towards it, if that makes any sense. As I said, I don't think she... One of the other things that I've thought of doing... Yeah, and Kia, you just mentioned this. If he can move his body without moving his feet, he can probably walk. Well, I thought of putting casters, like ball casters, on the bottom of his feet, so that he could actually like do a rollerblading motion. You know, that like kind of swimming, skating motion that you use by kind of pushing your body against the ground, and you kind of use your own momentum to keep propelling yourself forward. Like, I was thinking of trying that with Noodle instead, because then I never really have to worry about him tipping over or losing his balance in quite the same way, with kind of a skate gait rather than a walk gait. It kind of changes like how I envision Noodle moving around and being mobile. Because, like, in my... Noodle is a walking, like, crab thing, not a skating thing, but it might solve the problem of mobility for the time being, and it doesn't necessarily block him out from having behavioral mechanisms in his feet, because I could find some sort of omni-wheel device that would go around the outer ring of his feet at the bottom and not clog up the middle where all of his kind of features function out of. As weird as that sounds. It wouldn't bar him from being able to taste the ground and sample things, is what I'm saying. So he could still have, like, wheel feet instead of, like, just flat feet that he walks on. He can hold his weight. The old design could hold its weight, but it couldn't... It didn't have enough motion, like range of motion, to do it well. So he had 2 ranges of motion per leg, and it was just never... It was never able to walk, like, ideally. I think I came, like, really close once, like, in the very beginning. I seemed like I grokked this, like, falling motion for, like, a quick second. It seemed like it ought to, like, maybe work, but I was never able to kind of grok that, like, momentum carrying. It seemed like there was something missing. Like, there's something not there. So I've just, I don't know. I'm gonna try this and see if it helps at all. It might overcomplicate things, I have no idea. What do you mean, like the old version of his body right now, or like the new one? The motors aren't able to move the legs right now with the new version that I'm making. So I'm kind of like backing up a bit, like I got ahead of myself. I thought that the simulated version of the mechanism I created, since it worked in CAD through the simulation, I thought it would naturally also work in real life, and it does not. So I'm kind of rethinking it a little bit. I'm backing up and trying to take a smarter approach to the linkages and all of the joints. But since I'm not really relying on the simulated version in CAD anymore, I'm having to print everything out, test it, see how it fails, change it, print it out, install it, test it, see how it fails, and it's a lot slower. I might do a simulation in Algodo, which is something I think I did the first time I designed him, which was a good way to get general proportions correct before I started, like, doing actual CAD. I might not be able to do what I want in that. No. Have a single directional space. It is smooth. Velvet feet. No, I can get him to walk, like, using just the lift and rotate. It's just, like, he can't... It doesn't seem like he'll be able to walk well, I guess, is the thing. And that might be a matter... Maybe it's not a matter of adding another range of motion. Maybe it is just a matter of moving the weight down. Because, one of the other issues I have is with carrying the, since he is top heavy, like, if he tries to carry his own momentum forward and then stop, he's almost certainly going to fall over every single time forward. So I might still be able to get away with 2 ranges of motion, although I'm pretty sure I can't at this point. Like, I've had multiple people who are actual engineers confirm that I'm not gonna be able to get him to walk the way I want with him in, like, his old form, with just those 2 ranges of motions. Ranges of motion. I don't know. My robot has extremely limited range of motion, so if you can get Noodle strong enough, I think you should have. The power of love. I don't think... I think the thing in question that I'm chasing right now is some level of relative agility and the ability to correct itself on like different types of surfaces, because I think like my end game for me is to get Noodle able to walk outside on surfaces that aren't necessarily perfectly flat, and I would like for him to be able to make subtle adjustments in real time that help him not fall over. So if that's kicking a leg out or leaning, like right now he can't lean because he can't bend his knees or anything. He's kind of always, no matter what, in a certain type of position. If I can enable him to be able to correct like the pitch of his body so that he's more likely to walk continuously on his own for longer periods of time without tipping over, then that's sort of what I'm trying to get to eventually. And I don't think that that's something I can achieve with just the 2 ranges of motion. Like, he can walk with his old body. He can't walk independently with his old body. And I think one of the big stipulations with Noodle is, in my artist statement with him, is that I'm working towards making a robotic entity that's capable eventually of being independent from me. And part of that is like the decision-making capacity. The other part of that is actually being able to move and go out and do things independent of me. So I want to get him to a point where I'm not having to steer him away from walls or pick him up if he falls over. So I think that in the interest of getting him to that point, it makes sense that I added more complexity to the leg design. So that's why I'm doing it, to answer all questions. At least we tried. I do wish on stars. I wish on all of the stars. I give him all of the love. Noodle has a lot of love for a robot. Like, he gets a lot of, like, love. Noodle gets more love than Mommy gets love. Everyone loves Noodle, not everyone loves Mommy. True story. But, Shape Daddy said that he would come over later after he's done doing the weldering, so we can have a beer, and then I can work through these prombles, and then hopefully my part will be done, and I can test that out tonight, and then I can make some progress, which is pretty good for a first day back from being abroad. I don't know. I keep saying every year when I go to the Ars Electronica Festival that this is the year I'm going to bring Noodle back, and he's going to walk with me, like down the main avenue that is in Linz. There's like this big main street, and I'm like, I'm gonna bring Noodle and he's gonna walk with me down this street. And it's never happened because I'm always working on some other part involving him, or I'm stuck, and it's like one or the other. So this winter, instead of going off and playing some sort of video game or like chasing some other pink dragon pony, whatever I do in the winter, I'm going to just like literally hyper obsess over this problem until I get it solved, or I go crazy trying to solve it, one or the other. Aww. Doolab. There is no Noodle without Sarah, but that still doesn't mean that all people like Sarah. There's plenty of people who do not like me. Noodle. Noodle's a good baby. He's a good child. I guess he is technically an extension of me, so if people like him, they do like me indirectly, because he is a part of me. He is my, I don't know. Like somebody from, I want to say somebody in the comments of one of the Hackaday articles written about the project said, they referred to my relation to Noodle as high-functioning schizophrenia, and I really liked that. I have this, one of the things I was going to do tonight, I was going to write, or I am writing this article about it's an argument for the inanimate, which is kind of like a huge underpinning theme of my body of work and my artist statement as a artist. I need to work on that tonight, because I mentioned I just recently watched Toy Story 4, and I kind of feel like there's like a familiar thread of like a theme, like a feeling, a feel that's consistent with that whole franchise and my body of work in some capacity, and I feel inspired. So I need to probably sit down and write for a bit tonight. All right, but I think for now it's. I've been yammering for quite a while. I'm gonna wrap up the stream for now. I'm gonna probably eat another food, check on the print, and I'll go over what my game plan is between today and tomorrow. So that part, if I click over to this, this is not done yet because something was amiss with the everything. It's just fuck. I'm fixing it. It's getting printed, so I'm going to install that and test it tonight to see if the second revision, or the second revision of the second version of the leg design works. If it does, I might stop there. If not, then Tony, Noodle Shape Daddy, is coming over tonight to help me with revision 1 of version 3 of the leg design, which is not that. Oh man. Yeah, it is that. Which is this. Okay. It's not, it's not that part. Okay. But it's this part. So this whole thing right here, the lifting motion, is going to be some sort of weird wall walking gear apparati. And then the knee thing is going to stay the same because it works and it does exactly what I want it to. So probably by the time I do my next stream, I will have both printed and I will be able to show you what they do. That's the plan. Mark will be home tomorrow. He is off, so he will be able to help me inject some code into the legs so that they can be tested and do whatever they're supposed to do. So I'll probably run the printer overnight with the third revision, and then hopefully both will be ready by tomorrow. Be ready by sometime tomorrow, and I can test them, and we can have a party, a noodle party for good and bad noodles. Oh man, the printer? I don't know. I don't know. I might post a picture. I can post a picture of the printer. Wait, the Prusa? Micus? I mean, I can post one. Here, it's a good time to do this. I can post one in my Discord, which Kyo was telling me I need to, like, moderate the shit out of my Discord. Oh man. Which is fine. I don't know, I leave for a trip and then everything explodes socially. Where is it? God damn it. Where is Discord? I have too many stupid icons. Here. Invite people. Copy. There. That's the Discord. I invite anyone who is here and not already a part of it to join it. We should all be talking about nice, positive, uplifting things in there. Yeah? Just gonna repeat that. Hopefully everyone's doing so. Hey, can I see? I'll post a picture of the printer. I really don't want to drag a camera through the house right now. Mark probably wouldn't appreciate that since it's like a mess. And the printer's not, it's not in this area of the living vicinity. But I'll take a picture of it and post it if that's alright. I have a couple of videos I found in the Clever People about research. You should have a look at them. They may give some degree of insight into the range of movement you want. Share them. I don't know if he's here or not. Okay. I'm gonna go eat some food, and I'm going to check on the print. And I will probably be back, if not tomorrow, because I realize Mark wants me to go hunt for floor with him, and I need to do errands since I haven't been home. If it's not tomorrow, it'll be Wednesday for sure. And then I will show you guys the progress that I make. And it will most definitely be a stream regarding the same exact thing that I did today. Just hopefully with better news and progress. But until then, I don't know. Thank you for keeping me company today. Thank you for listening to me yammer about all the problems that have been in my head. Take care. And I'll see you next time, okay? And keep making awesome stuff out there. I always say that. Alright, I'll see ya.